Ask any sales manager what their closure rates are, and they'll tell you. It might be something like 1 in 4, maybe 1 in 3. Ask your marketing manager what click-through rates they get on emails, and he'll tell you that it's something like 1 in, let's say it's 4 or 5% of the total clean sends. They'll know again. Ask either the sales or marketing manager how many new names they need to add this month and how many closed deals they need this month. And they'll give you a response a little along the lines of, yeah, good question. Ask them again what their closure rates are by stage, and they'll smile and blink. Oops. Ask them what their conversion rate is by stage, and the grin will fade. Ask them what their conversion rate is by stage in the buyer's journey, not the seller's, and the grin won't even be there anymore. I think you take my point. If marketing and sales are ever to become respected management sciences around the world, we need to get really good at understanding our conversion rates and how we're improving them, stage by stage. In this week's blog, that's what I'm going to show you how to do, how to calculate your effectiveness rate stage by stage, your conversion rate stage by stage in the buyer's journey, and I'll show you why lag is death. Funnel Vision is brought to you by Math Marketing, creators of the funnel plan. Math Marketing is the source of the 1, 2, 3 of B2B. I want to begin this week's show by talking about leads and what a lead is. There's a lot of debate around how you define a lead and what's a marketing qualified lead and a sales qualified lead. In an earlier blog, I'll include a link in the show notes, we argued that a marketing qualified lead is as Q as S wants it, and that is, it's as qualified as sales wants it to be. You want names, I'll give you names. You want names that have done something, I'll give you those. You want names that have done something and have met some qualification criteria, I'll do that, and so on. I can give you more or less cooked leads depending on what you actually want. But of course, I can give you fewer at each juncture. You get the idea. So let's understand that a lead is basically whatever you want to define it as. Now, unfortunately, in your CRM, that differentiation or that separation between a lead and an opportunity is hardwired. Most CRMs have got leads and they've got opportunities, and they're different things. You convert a lead to an opportunity. Let's for now, though, imagine that we actually need not just leads and opportunities, or this artificial distinction, or even the MQL, SQL, marketing qualified lead, sales qualified lead distinction. What we really need is how are we going to move a buyer from who are you through to thank you very much. That's the buyer's journey. And we're going to talk about in today's blog, we're going to understand what the buyer's journey is. We're going to talk about a little bit of research that we did recently in partnership with Marketo, where we understood the impact of renaming the journey stages in your CRM and your marketing automation platform to buyer's journey stages rather than sales process stages. Cover that briefly again today. We're going to talk about how you move buyers effectively, but particularly today, how you measure how well you're moving them so you can work out what you need to improve. In the conclusions, I'll give you 10 concrete steps that you can implement today to better measure and therefore better improve your effectiveness at moving buyers through each stage in the journey. Now, if we're talking about measuring effectiveness at anything, it really needs to not be at what we do, but rather what effect we have. By that, I mean, I could measure how effectively I move the seller from this stage to this stage, but that's academic. It's what we do all the time, but it's academic, it's silly. What you really need to move is how well you've moved the buyer. You need to measure whether you've managed to shift the buyer from one stage to another. And so it's fundamental that you rename the stages in your CRM and your marketing automation platform to be buyer's journey stages, not sales process stages. Doesn't matter what you do, matters what effect you have on your market. Just to back that little bit of theory up with some measured reality, you probably know we did a study into sales and marketing alignment with Marketo last year, published early 2014. If you haven't got a copy of the report, then go to mathmarketing.com/alignment. One quick fact from that is that the companies that had renamed their stages in their CRM from those that came out of the box compared to those that had left them as they were, got a 46% improvement in the quality of their MQLs. More than that, if they changed those stages from sales stages, the first change, to buyer's journey stages, there was another 28% improvement available. So 46% improvement for changing them at all, and a further 28% improvement if you make those changes to buyer's journey stage. So I've argued it from a theoretical perspective, and there's the evidence that we need to do it. Frankly, just do it. Change your stage names to buyer's journey stage. So the question now becomes, how effectively are we moving buyers from one stage to the next, and what can we get better at? The next challenge I want to lay out before we get to our conclusion is dirty data in the CRM. And we've all got it, and we need to clean it up. There are several areas of dirty data that we can fix pretty readily. I'll show you quickly how to do that, and then I'll draw this back in the conclusions. But basically, firstly, only measure opportunities that have closed in or closed out. If you've got 3 opportunities, one you won, one you lost, and one you don't know, well, your closure rate's not 1 in 3, because the one that you don't know might become a sale or it might become a loss. You can't use that. Your closure rate in that example was 1 in 2. You won one, you lost one. So firstly, on the dirty data perspective, only take data from opportunities that have already reached conclusion, in or out. The other thing to think about in regard to dirty data is that we often skip stages. Last time I was in the CRM, the buyer was at, let's say, the 3rd stage in whatever our hierarchy is. And today, I believe they're in the 5th stage. Well, when do they reach the 4th stage? Now, you could run a theoretical argument that if they reached the 3rd stage last week and they reached the 5th stage this week, then split the difference, stage 4 was in the middle. But that's as academic and as arbitrary and as inaccurate as any other. What I would suggest is that if you're in the CRM today and you've updated at stage 5 today, then stage 4 was at the same date. I'll show you later on how to do that. But basically, if you've skipped stages, you've gone, in the example I'm using, from 3 to 5, then stage 4's progression was achieved on the same date as the stage 5 progression. So in that example, 3 to 4 took a week, 4 to 5 took 0 time at all. It's not perfect. More perfect would be keeping your CRM up to date, but if you're going to make changes, don't do average and arbitrary things like splitting the difference. All changes occurred on the same date. That's the first simple fix to make to CRM. The final issue I want to talk about before we get to our conclusions is that we are optimistic people, marketing and sales professionals. We're always thinking about the positive. And so that deal that's been stuck in your CRM for 6 months or even longer, it's never going to go ahead. It's very, very rare that an opportunity is genuinely still at a certain stage. What's normally the case is that the salesperson is unwilling to concede defeat. They are going to buy from us, they'll tell you. Eventually, they'll tell themselves. The buyer isn't stuck at that stage, the salesperson is stuck at that stage. If the buyer hasn't moved forward within a normal amount of time, they're never going to move forward. Take them out, leak them, create a new task, it's not even an opportunity, create a new task to go back to that prospect sometime later to rekindle and reignite, reprioritise the opportunity. But right now, if the opportunity's been stuck for an unholy amount of time, it's dead. Kill it, concede defeat, move on, find a new opportunity. One of the important reasons for doing that is, as a salesperson, I can only handle a finite number of opportunities, however many that is. In some businesses that might be 2, in some it might be 200. Whatever the number is, a salesperson can only do a good job of managing those opportunities. If there are non-opportunities counted in that list, that is opportunities that have already leaked, then I'm wasting energy on them. Rather, put them into the nurturing program, get me focused on those opportunities that I can do something about. So, rip out those old opportunities. If they've stagnated, concede defeat, mark them as leaked, make a task to go back some later time and rekindle them, make sure the lead is put into a nurturing program, but as far as your data goes, the opportunity's already gone. Leak them, take them out, mark it as closed lost. Shortly I'll show you how to do this in Funnel Plan, but before that I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to share with you my conclusions, and I'm going to invite you to receive other blogs like this. Let's get to the conclusion first. So here are the 10 steps that you can take right now to accurately measure your conversion rates so that you can improve them. Step 1. Set up the stages in your CRM to journey stages. I've already argued why you need to do that. Secondly, ensure that the CRM is recording stage history. Now this is not automatic. Salesforce does it automatically. Zoho now does it. We actually worked with Zoho to get them to make that change. We're delighted to say that they've made that change now. Not every CRM does. If it doesn't, there's some workarounds that you can do that I can chat about offline, but certainly you want to make sure that everything you can do has been done to make sure that the CRM is recording the date that you reach each stage in the opportunity management system. Step 3, synchronise your CRM and your marketing automation platform so that you get the whole journey. You're going to extract the data from the CRM, but you want the CRM's data to include the marketing automation data. Step 4, leak all stagnated leads and manually leak stagnated opportunities. The distinction here is that leads versus opportunities in most CRMs, leads are manifold, there are many of them, and they're not so valuable. Opportunities are being managed by a salesperson normally. So the leads you can afford to be automated in the way that you leak them. If they've been alive for longer than is normal, leak them immediately. Whereas an opportunity, you want to do that by discussion and negotiation with the salesperson. And that's normally a conversation for the sales manager to have with the salesperson. Number 5, extract only closed deals. Exclude every deal that hasn't reached closed won or closed lost yet. Step 6, fill in the date gaps. Remember I mentioned earlier that you need to if you've gone from stage 3 to stage 5, assume that the progression was 3 to 4 today and 4 to 5 also today. So fill in those date gaps and calculate your leakage rate also by stage and the lag. Now, let me be really clear here. For the moment, you only want lag for deals that you've won. I know we're going to use leakage to calculate our loss rates, but for lag, that is time, we only want to look at won deals because we're trying to set up a profile around how well we win and what it takes to win. So how long does it take on average for a deal that you've won to progress stage by stage is part of step 6. And the other part of step 6 is how often do you fail to move them from stage to stage. Average your lag, step 7, for the won deals and the lost deals, just so that you can cry for a while. It's really important that you understand the difference between your how long it takes to win a deal and how long it takes to lose a deal, so that you have enough courage and strength to do step 8. If you skip step 7, that would be, you're not going to do step 8. So look at your average for won deals, your average for lost deals, have a little tier, then move on to step 8. Update your funnel plan with the new average lag for won deals. Take your funnel plan, adjust the funnel math in your funnel plan, I'll show you how to do that later on, with the average lag for won deals. Then, for each stage, rank all of your won opportunities by lag length. Drop the longest, that is the slowest 10%, to cut yourself a bit of slack, and set the cut-off lag time as the time that 90% of your won deals take. What I'm really saying there is, you know what your average is, But now you also know how long it takes to get 90% of your deals to closure. So you've got now a benchmark or a date when you start to say, after this date, after this time, I need to scrutinise my opportunities carefully. So step 10, automatically leak all future leads as soon as they reach this cut-off lag, that is the 90% mark, and set manager alerts for all opportunities that have reached that cut-off lag. Now, you're going to lose a couple of deals a year by being this aggressive, but you're also going to stop wasting more than half of your scarce resources on deals that were never going to close anyway. You will lose a few, but you'll gain significant time to let you win many, many more. Step 10 is the crunch. Well, if you enjoyed this blog, then likely you'll enjoy others. If you haven't already, can I invite you to subscribe to receive this blog? Go to mathmarketing.com/blog and either subscribe to the twice a week blog, or if you prefer, the once a month, which has a recap of all the key blogs from the month. Frankly, what most people do is subscribe to both, and you're welcome to do that. Now, if you prefer, you can also subscribe to the YouTube channel here and can consume these blogs in that way. Now, if you have already, but you've got a colleague who hasn't, then now would be a great time to invite them, and I'd be so grateful if you do that. Why don't you do that now? Either subscribe or flick it along to a friend, come back, and I'll show you how we do that in Funnel Plan.
You're aware that your funnel plan has captured your objectives, your strategy, your tactics, and in the middle, the velocity that you need your tactics to generate for you in order for you to meet your objectives. Today we're really only going to talk about the velocity section, because we're talking about measurement, and we're talking about the rate of velocity that we are currently achieving versus what we need to achieve to meet our objectives in the plan. So let's take a look in the funnel plan itself as to how we adjust these. In the funnel plan, under the velocity section, you've got simple funnel math that you can input. Basically, how long does it take to go from top to bottom? What percent of your proposals or leads will become proposals? What percent of your proposals will you win? And how many meetings does it take? But in the advanced section, those same numbers have been transposed. So the 13 weeks, for example, is down here in the 13 weeks. But it lets us apportion it stage by stage. Now, if we do what I'm suggesting in today's session, and we learn that it takes not 1 week to establish interest, and then 1 week to go from established interest to gap, and then 2 to go from gap to need, but rather it takes 2 weeks and 3 weeks, then we just simply input those changes. Now we're now up for a longer journey through the funnel plan. I do what I said I was going to do, 3. We've now got 15 weeks, and we've got a bit of precision around where those lags are occurring. And if it turns out that gap to need, we don't lose 40%, but we lose 60%, then we can make that change in the leakage. Now, how does that all of that play out? Well, in the total velocity, let me go back to the funnel plan while that's calculating. The total velocity is calculating the 3-year outputs that your funnel plan is going to generate. So total velocity, which takes about 35 seconds to calculate, it's a lot of calcs to determine this. It's determined here that to make our 1,410 sales, we need 2,570 prospects. Now we can go back to the funnel plan here. Originally we needed 2,176 compared to 2,500. And that's the fundamental difference. By being a little slower and a little less effective, we need to start with a bigger market. Now the problem with that, of course, is that your 1,400 customers are now coming from 2,500 prospects. Before, our 1,400 new customers are coming from 2,100 prospects. In other words, our market share has been depleted. We need a bigger market to get our outcomes than we did previously because we're less effective. And that's why I rabbit on as often as I do about how we need to not just measure but actually improve our effectiveness. Let's drop those back to what they were before. And if we recalculate that, what we'll end up with is the same calculations presented here in the funnel plan. Understanding how effectively you move buyers from stage to stage, and conversely, how often you fail stage by stage, lets you work out which part of the puzzle you need to work on fixing next. And that's why we're so hot on measuring effectiveness stage by stage. Hope that helps.
In next week's show, I'll show you a little more about measuring your effectiveness stage by stage and how you can improve it. And I'll also show you why you can't rush your buyers. Until then, may your funnel be full and always flowing.